With the holiday season right around the corner, I thought it would be a really fun idea to do different calligraphy styles for the Christmas season and for you to practice your calligraphy with me before the new year if that's a goal of yours. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 different title ideas, some of calligraphy, others more on the doodle side, and if you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. So join me and let's do some fun titles together. So first of all, the materials that I'm going to use. I'm using a Notebook Therapy notebook here just because the pages are really thick, and so I can do the titles on both sides of the pages that are not going to go to the other side. You can use my code catsplanner for 10% off Notebook Therapy, and the exact notebook that I'm using is going to be linked in the description below. For markers, I'm going to use these Brush Sign Twin Pens by Pentel. I highly recommend these because they are really affordable. They have different packs of pens, and the brush tip is really flexible, so it's really good for beginners, and they have a fine tip on the other side, so you can do both types of calligraphy, normal and faux calligraphy, that I'm going to explain in a bit what it is. And as an alternative for smaller brush tips instead of the Tombow dual brush pens, I highly recommend the Crayola super tips. They are really affordable, you can find them anywhere, and they are perfect for beginners. I'm using a 12 pack of pens here, so you don't need a lot of markers to do fun calligraphy with. And with that being said, let's practice some calligraphy first. I always do this. You have to warm up your hand and your fingers in order to do good calligraphy later on. So it's just like a workout. This is your stretching phase. You're going to grab a pen and paper and you're going to just do some waves with the pen to practice your calligraphy strokes. Fine strokes going up, thick strokes going down, and that is how calligraphy is made. So here I just grabbed a gray marker because I feel like it's the least used one, and I started doing waves, and then when my waves were good enough, I started doing the letters, because waves is really easy, but doing the letters and the connecting points between the letters, it's sometimes the hard part, at least for me. So I highly recommend doing this practice phase before you go on into your bullet journal. In this phase, you can write the whole alphabet, or you can write just the most challenging letters for you. For me, it's the K, the S, sometimes the M or N, depending on what letter comes next, and the R. So those are the letters that I wrote in here, and once my hand was warmed up, it was time to start with the calligraphy titles. Oh, and by the way, my name is Kat, and if you like this type of content and bullet journaling, studio vlogs, and stationery, don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I do a bunch of those, and in my studio vlogs I actually show you the behind the scenes of running a stationery shop from my own room in Portugal. So for the first title idea, I was inspired by winter and snow, and so I grabbed a light blue brush pen and I started writing Happy Holidays. And for this title, you just do your letters a bit on the bouncy side. So as you can see, none of the letters is aligned to the bottom nor the top. They are kind of like bouncing a little bit. This is called bouncing calligraphy, which means that none of these letters are aligned and they are just having fun doing their own thing. So for example, in holidays, the H is not aligned with the O, and then the L finishes a little bit lower and the I a little bit lower, but the D is a bit higher up. Now, once the word was written, I decided to go with my fine tip on this Pentel brush pen, and I chose the top to do this ombre effect, but you can easily do this at the bottom of the word, but I personally think that the top being darker looks better than the bottom, so that's what I did. And with the fine tip, I started doing some strokes coming from the top of the lettering until like the middle part of the letter. And basically this creates an ombre effect where the letter is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. And yes, I'm using the same light blue pen here, and this is because the ombre effect is going to look a lot better and seamlessly if you use the same marker on top of that same marker, if that makes sense. So as you can see, I'm just using the same pen here, darkening up the top part of the letters and just doing some strokes and letting the pen flow towards the middle part of the lettering. So that middle part is a mix of dark blue and light blue. There are a lot of ways to do ombre effects on your lettering, but this for me is the perfect one just because it looks very artistic and minimalistic but perfect at the same time, and it does take a little bit of time, but it's totally worth it in the end. The final touch to this lettering was to add white stars at the top portion of the letters, the one that was darker, and in here I'm using a white acrylograph pen by Archer & Olive. I use the Sakura ones, but this one has been my go-to lately, so I'm using this one. And it looks really nice, but my advice is to let the ink completely dry, the blue ink dry completely before you add the white, because otherwise the colors are going to blend together and the white is going to look like a very light blue and not an opaque white. Since we are using watermarkers, the blending between colors is going to be very easily done. So if you let the blue ink dry for like 10-20 minutes and go afterwards with the white pen, the result is going to be much better. This is the final result, and as you can see with the dark part at the top and lighter at the bottom with the stars, it really looks like winter time and snow, and I really like how this theme turned out, and I hope you test it out with different patterns for the stars and different colors for the actual board. Super easy, and it looks super cute. Since we've done normal calligraphy before, now we're going to do some faux calligraphy. This is the type of lettering that you do when you haven't mastered normal calligraphy yet, but you want to have calligraphy in your drawings and in your bullet journal. And this is actually something that you should practice at the same time that you're practicing normal calligraphy. But this is slightly easier, but it's a little bit harder to make it perfect, if that makes sense. I'm going to explain it a little bit. So for this word, I grabbed the red brush pen and I wrote Merry Christmas with the fine tip. And I'm leaving some space between the letters to add the faux calligraphy side later. For the faux calligraphy part, you just add an extra downstroke to each letter on your word to make it look thicker on that side. It's the same effect as normal calligraphy, but in this case, it's going to be hollow. So as you can see in all the letters, I went over the letters, and once I reached the point where the letter was going down for that downstroke, I added the same line but a little bit to the right side or left side depending on where the letter is. But I added that little side, and that creates a thicker leg for the letter, and in the end it's going to actually look like normal calligraphy. Now at this stage you have a lot of options. You can paint the inside, that hollow leg, with the same color and create normal calligraphy like we've done before. You can color with another color and add it like a little outline effect, but in my case I'm going to do a candy cane style text. So that means that we're going to color in that little extra leg with red and white stripes. For this trick, you just grab the same pen and you're going to add little diagonal strokes with red. And as you can see, some letters have like the line that connects them on the hollow leg. And in that section, I'm going to paint them red so that line is invisible. This title is really easy to do, and it creates a really fun effect of candy canes. You just have to do the stripes a little bit on the diagonal angle and paint every other square. From here, you can add the extra thickness to the fine legs of the letters if you want to. You can add shadows. You can add a lot of things to make this text even more interesting, but I really like how it turned out, and I think it's really fun to do candy cane style lettering for Christmas. The third idea that I have for you is the same one that I did for my cover page on my December bullet journal setup. So if you haven't watched it already, it's here in the cards and in the description below. I did a very Christmassy December theme, and I used a lot of doodles and a lot of fun lettering, and this was one of them. And it's basically the bubble lettering style, but you're going to transform the letters into cookies. So basically I'm just writing "This is the season" with a brown pen, and this set of Pentel brush pens only have this brown shade, but you're free to use any round shade you want for your cookie lettering, and you're just going to do an outline of all the letters without painting anything, without doing any holes inside the letters for the E and for the A's. And I really like to do bubble lettering because you can easily do the outline of letters but then go over them and paint them and correct any mistakes that you do. So if you don't know how to do bubble lettering, this is a really good exercise, and it's something that I really recommend you to try and do because the letters are really fun and you don't really need any skills to do good bubble lettering. So I just wrote "This the season" with the brown pen, and I paint the inside of the letters as well with the same pen. Now I'm going to use a similar technique to the Happy Holidays text, and I'm going to use the white acrylograph to do some designs on the cookies. I let the brown ink dry completely, and then I went over with the white pen to do the designs for our Christmas cookies. And here is where you can have a lot of fun, because you can do some wiggly lines on the letters, you can do circles, you can do any designs that you like to see on Christmas cookies. You can do lettering on the cookies, you can do a fun face on the O. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and here I just went very like randomly with the designs, and I did whatever it came to mind. And I did some similar designs on my December cover page, and this is a really fun text to try, and it's perfect for the holiday season. Now the next title idea is more of a Christmas inspired title. Not that the other ones aren't, but this one is heavily inspired by Christmas. So I grabbed a light green Pentel brush pen and I wrote December, and this title was a bit more on the skinny side for the letters, but the letters were a little bit longer, so they are not cluttered up together. I extended the letter as much as I could, and I did the downstroke just a little bit thicker than the upper stroke. This is a very flowy title, and I really like to do this type of title for more delicate and elegant pages in my bullet journal. With the lettering all done, it was time for the designs on the letters, and for this design I decided to do some mistletoes, so I just put a bunch of little red balls on the letters, and they are all glued to one of the other side of the letters to just look like mistletoe is attached to the title. And for this technique I just did some red dots, like thick dots, and because this red is a little bit on the bright side, I went over with the pen to do more darker circles. Once I was happy with the disposition of all the mistletoes, I started to draw the leaves, and for this I used a darker green color. Now my leaves aren't perfect, and you don't have to do these types of leaves for the mistletoe, but I feel like these crooked leaves are perfect for this design, so that's what I did. I haven't mastered my mistletoe skills, so yeah, this is the best that I could do for the leaves. And for this design you just need to have fun with the display of the mistletoes and the leaves, where they are going to be, and etc. And it's going to look really fun in the end. And because the title was looking a little bit blunt and the text was not popping as much as the mistletoe leaves, I decided to end over with a 0.3 Pentel point liner, and I added some drop shadows to the right side of the letters. Once you understand how light works and you know that the shadows are all on the right side, it's really easy to do shadows in your lettering. And as you can see in this lettering, all the shadows are on the right side of the letters, so the light is coming from the left side, if that makes sense. This title took a little bit longer to do and to plan where the mistletoes were going to be, but in the end it looks really nice for a minimal page. The last title idea is more on the doodly side, and it's the easiest to do, which is to do like a banner for a title. I don't do these as much because they are more on the doodle side, and I prefer my titles to be on the more elegant side, but this is really easy if you don't have any skills for calligraphy or writing anything. This is going to save you. And the first thing to do is to do two lines that are more on the oval side and one on top of each other, being the longer word a bit longer than the other line. This is where we're going to attach our Christmas lights, where our title is going to be. So with the lines drawn on the paper, you're going to add the lights, and here I chose yellow, red, and green to do my Christmas lights. And I am team circle Christmas lights, but if you prefer those more on the triangular shaped side, you can do those as well. And for the lights, I'm not just doing some circles with the colors, I'm actually doing a technique that it looks like the circles on the page have light inside them. So with the pens, I'm going to do some circles, like the outline of the circles, but I'm going multiple times on top of it until it's a bit darker, and then just one stroke on the center of the circle. And at the center of the circle, I'm going to leave it white, because that means that the light is inside that point and the whole circle is darker around it because there is less light. So for all the circles, I'm doing multiple brush strokes around the edge of the circle, and then just one light one in the center to make it look lighter than the outer part of the circle. Once I have all the little lights drawn on paper, I went with a point liner and I did some outlines and I connected the lights with the strokes that we did earlier. And before I add the text to the lights, I'm going to use the same markers and add a stroke to the right side of the lights so it looks like it's the shadow of those lights. Again, with calligraphy and font titles, you can try a lot of different effects on the letters, and this was the one that I decided to try here as well. So besides the light being in the center, you also have a light shadow to the right side of the letters, and I'm going to use the same acrylograph pen to do a white stroke on the left side to mention the light source of everything in these lights. Once that was done, the last step was to write Happy Holidays on these lights, and the Pentel point liners are water resistant, so they are not going to smudge the actual paint on the lights, so I went over with them right away and I wrote Happy Holidays and each letter in each light. This is a very fun title and you can do this easily in any type of the year. You can do this for any festive season and in your bullet journal is going to look really nice. This doesn't involve any calligraphy skills, so this is a really fun title to do, and I really hope you enjoy all the titles that I showed you in here, and comment down below your favorite one and leave a light emoji if you watched the video until this point. Don't forget to subscribe for more calligraphy, bullet journal, and stationery videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys!